If you've ever walked through Tokyo's Shimbashi district late on a Friday night, you've seen him. The white dress shirt slightly yellowed at the collar, the necktie loosened, and a briefcase used as a pillow on the cold pavement. To a tourist, it's a drunk salaryman meme, a funny photo to post on Instagram. But to Japan, this man wasn't a joke. He was the engine of an empire. For 70 years, the salaryman was the hero who traded his sleep, his family time, and his health to build the second largest economy on earth. He was the corporate warrior. But look closer at those streets today and you'll notice something. Shimbashi is getting quieter. The legions of navy blue suits are thinning out. And it isn't just because of remote work. Something much more fundamental is breaking. The unspoken contract that held Japanese society together, the promise of a job for life in exchange for your absolute soul, has been torn up. We are witnessing the death of the salaryman. And for the first time in generations, the Japanese worker is starting to realize, I don't have to do this anymore. I don't have to stay. To understand why this is such a shock, you have to understand the lifetime employment system in Japan that helped transform the country into an economic powerhouse. After World War II, Japanese companies became a second family to their employees. You joined after university at 22, you worked there until you're 65, and in return you were essentially unfireable. It was a social safety net disguised as a corporate structure. But that family dynamic started to rot during the so-called lost decades in Japan. Companies couldn't afford the seniority-based pay anymore, but because labor laws in Japan are so strict, they couldn't just hand out pink slips either. Instead, they had to get creative. This led to the rise of a dark corporate phenomenon known as the oidashibeya, literally the chasing out room. Instead of layoffs, they'd send older, expensive employees to these rooms. It's exactly what it sounds like. A desk in an empty office where you're assigned no work at all. You're told to sit there for 8 hours a day, staring at a wall or reading a manual until the sheer psychological weight and the shame of being useless forces you to quit. It's a brutal, quiet way of saying, the contract's over. You're just a burden for us. Then came the pandemic. It acted like an accelerant on a dying fire. Companies realized that if a worker can do their job from a kitchen table, the corporate family is actually just a liability. We're now seeing the oidashibeya being replaced by aggressive early retirement programs, even at brands like Sony and Panasonic. It's a more polite way of saying the same thing. We're done with the old way. But here's where the story takes a turn I find even more fascinating. It's not just companies pushing people out. For the first time in my experience living here, the workers are the ones who are sometimes walking away. In the past, if you quit a job in Japan after just 2 years, you're seen as a failure. A leaver. You were damaged goods. But that stigma is slowly, or for Japan maybe even rapidly, evaporating. I'm seeing more and more people, and even some traditional companies, opening up to the idea of mobility. Younger Japanese workers are looking at their father's 80-hour weeks and saying no thanks. They are no longer afraid to look for something better. If the management is toxic, if the pay is stagnant, or if the black company culture starts to creep in, they leave. I've noticed this shift in the comments on my previous videos as well. People are tired of being disposable batteries. They're starting to prioritize their own mental health over the company's bottom line. This isn't just a change in jobs, it's a change in the Japanese psyche. This quiet rebellion has even spawned a bizarre new industry, resignation agencies. Imagine being so terrified of the social pressure of quitting, of the shame of leaving your team, that you pay a company 30,000 yen to call your boss and resign for you. These agencies are booming. Why? Because the old system was so rigid that many people literally didn't know how to quit. They feel trapped by a sense of duty to a system that no longer loves them back. But as more people use these services, and as more people successfully transition to second and third careers, the lifetime model looks less like a safety net and more like a cage. We're seeing younger people switching companies and careers, and more progressive companies welcoming them. We're seeing a rise in freeters and people moving to workation spots in rural Japan. They've realized that they're rebuilding a life that isn't centered around a gray office in Shinjuku. So, what happens to a Japan without the salaryman? Japan is currently in the middle of a painful identity crisis. The salaryman was the backbone of the country's pride. Without him, Japan has to figure out how to value a person for who they are, not just the company name on their business card. It's a terrifying shift for the older generation, but for the youth, it might be the only way to survive. The suit is being retired. I want to hear from you. Do you think the death of this work until you drop culture is the only way for Japan to move forward? Or is the loss of job security going to create a new, even more dangerous crisis? Let me know in the comments. I personally know a lot of Japanese professionals that have changed companies relatively early on in their careers and never looked back. Sure, there are downsides to a relaxed sense of obligation to your company, as is evident in the modern Western world form of career building. But I know that I, for one, don't want to stick around in an oppressive work environment, if I've got a choice. What about you? As always, if you found this tidbit interesting, hit the like button. It really helps the channel. And don't forget to share this with anyone that might enjoy more tidbits from Japan and takes on all things Japan from someone that actually lives here. I'll see you in the next one.